Shavua Tov, Agotavuch, and welcome to our program. This is the second week of the 3 weeks, and in Eretz Yisrael and in Chutz Loretz, this Shabbos we are going to scream Chazak, Chazak, V'nis Chazek. And the Rebbe says that this comes in on the second week. Why is that? Because this is the thick of the 3 weeks. And this is where we need it most. So this Shabbos, in Eretz Yisrael and in the diaspora, we are going to scream Chazak, Chazak, V'nis Chazek, because this is where we need it most, in the thick of the 3 weeks. The Rebbe asks a question, the 3 weeks. If you ask anyone, what do they know about the number 3? And he will tell you immediately so many positive things about the number 3. 3 Ovis, Avram Yitzchak Yankiv, 3 Yomim Tevim, Pesach Shavuos Sukkos, and the Rebbe brings the Gemara, that the Gemara in Shabbos, where the Gemara is concerning Matan Torah, Shabbos Becheser Medalef, where the Gemara says, V'rich Rachmono de Yohiv, Urion Tliso, blessed is Almighty God that He gave Urion Tliso. Urion Tliso has 2 meanings, a teaching and a light. Le'am Tliso, to a nation that is a triple nation, Keanim Levim and Yisraelim. V'yem Tlisoi, on the 3rd day, V'hi B'yem HaShlishi. V'yalchot Tlisoi, V'chedesh HaShlishi. Sivon. So the number 3 is a number that's associated with very, very good things. And now, what do we find? The 3 weeks. So how do you reconcile that they are called the 3 weeks when we know that 3 is a very good number? We will return to that in a moment. But first, our customary story. Heard the story from an individual who said that this story happened to his mother. His mother was here at a convention of Neshei of Neis Chabad, and it was the custom that you were able to go over to the Rebbe and ask the Rebbe for a bracha. They had a great uncle, his father's uncle, who wasn't well, and his mother comes over to the Rebbe and she's asking for a bracha for this uncle. So the Rebbe answers her these words: you will have good news, and it will be healthy. She left the Rebbe. She didn't understand what was happening here. She's asking for a bracha for someone else, and she obviously understood why the Rebbe didn't answer that bracha. But then the Rebbe says, you will have good news, and it will be healthy. She went to the doctor, and the doctor said to her that although she didn't know about it, but she's expecting a child. Not only that, she was already in the mid to high 30s, and later they said to her that they see a problem with the pregnancy and with the child, and they are suggesting that she should do an abortion. But she says she's not doing an abortion. She's not even thinking about it. She knows it's going to be fine. The Rebbe said, when she didn't even know, the Rebbe said, you will have good news, and it will be healthy. And then he tells me the story. He says, it was my youngest brother that my mother gave birth to. As mentioned, I heard the story from the individual who was telling the story that happened to his very own mother. Rabbi say, before we continue, it's the 3 weeks. And the Rebbe asks that we should learn the halachas, one of the things, Hilchas Beis Abchira of the Rambam. And in the first Perik, the very first halacha, Mitzvah Sasei Lases Bais Lashem Muchon Liyes Makrivim Be'al Korbonis. It's a mitzvah sesa to make a house for Almighty God. They should be ready to bring korbanos. And here, the Rambam is making his statement in his machlekes with the Ramban as to what was the main purpose of the building of the Beis Hamikdash. The Ramban says that the main purpose of the building of the Beis Hamikdash, and in the language of the Ramban, it's Ikar HaChefetz. The main purpose was that there should be a Shloas HaShechina. The Shechina should dwell, and this is why we were told to build the Beis Hamikdash, and he cites the pasuk, V'yosel li Mikdash v'shachanti b'seichom. You should build for me a Mikdash, a tabernacle, and I will dwell b'seichom in each and every person. So this is the position of the Ramban. The Rambam, however, is of the position that the main purpose of the Beis Hamikdash was that we should have a place to bring korbanos. And where does he say that? In this very halacha. Mitzvah sasei lases bais lashem, that you should make a habitation for Almighty God, a house for Almighty God. Muchon liyes makrivim be'a korbanos. It should be ready, you should bring their korbanos. That is the position of the Rambam. And then the Rambam says, V'chegigin elov shalosh b'yomim bashono. V'chegigin elov. You celebrate there. This language employed here makes you think, what does V'chegigin elov mean? You celebrate there. If the Rambam wants to tell us that we go there 3 times a year, it should say that there's a mitzvah saseh to go 3 times a year. You know, it calls chulcha, that you have to go to Yerushalayim. What's the expression v'chegigin elov? That you celebrate to there. With a little bit of a poetic license, you can argue. V'chegigin elov means you celebrate there. When does that celebration start? The moment you leave your house. The moment you leave the house on the way to Yerushalayim, you already are chegigin. You are already celebrating. And then, when you start out to go to Yerushalayim, you may be on your own. But when you're on the road, there you find another Jew, and another Jew. And the closer that you get to Yerushalayim, the more people are going to be celebrating together. They're coming to Yerushalayim. Rabbi say concerning the 3 weeks, and concerning this question, the Rebbe's question, why is it called 3 weeks? 3 gives you a certain amount of prominence. And where's the prominence here? The 3 weeks of destruction? And the Rebbe answers, first of all, this is the Rebbe's shita in the big question. Why did Almighty God do this? Chulm, first Beis Hamikdash, second Beis Hamikdash. So many people lost their lives. How do we reconcile that? Until this very day, we mourn the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. And the Rebbe answers consistently, it's a yerido tzeiach aliyah. Yes, it's a big yerido. However, it's for the purpose, the yerido is descent for the purpose of ascent. Almighty God does not do chulm for the sake of chulm. He does chulm for the sake of geulah. And he wants to bring about the geulah amitis v'ashleimo. So therefore, he brings also the 3 weeks in the form of a certain permanence. Because but loso simini have a chazaka. 3 times is a chazaka. The Gemara says in Metzia Daf Kufov. So therefore, what we find here is a chazaka. Why is it a chazaka? It's a chazaka of chulbon. Why? Because we want that the aliyah that we're going to have out of this should be out of proportion to the yerida. So therefore, you want a real yerida. A real yerida, and that will bring about the real aliyah. To the extent, the Rebbe says, where this is like a chassidische Verbringen, the Rebbe says that the yerida is going to be in such a way that even that the aliyah, the ascent, is going to be such a way that even the yerida agrees to that. Even the Yerida agrees to this unprecedented ascent that is going to happen after the 3 weeks. The Gula Amitis V'Ashlemu. So therefore, it's in the form of a chazoke to tell you it's a real Yerida. Why? Because through the real Yerida, we're going to come to the real Aliyah of the building of the Beis Hamikdash. And as the Rebbe brings so many times that it says in Zohar that the first Beis Hamikdash was cholev and the second Beis Hamikdash was cholev because it was binyono the balanash. It was a structure of man. Nevertheless, the third Beis Hamikdash is going to be binyono the Kodesh Brichu. So Almighty God destroyed the first Beis Hamikdash, so He should build the second Beis Hamikdash, and He destroyed the second Beis Hamikdash, so He should send us the third Beis Hamikdash, binyono de Kodesh Brichu, the structure of Almighty God, that will have permanence lo ado leilmei elomim. So with that we can understand, although it is difficult to understand why we're still in Golus. Nevertheless, the Rebbe tells us where to think that this is going to be an unprecedented aliyah. Unprecedented because it's going to bring us the Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi Lo'ad Ol Ilmei Elomim. Not only for 400 years, and not only for 410 years, as both Beis Hamikdash Lo'ad Ol Ilmei Elomim Mikdash Aleph Daled Nun Yud Keinu Yodecha that Almighty God is going to make for us, and that will be an everlasting edifice. And it's evident in the aliyah that in the unprecedented aliyah that we are going to experience. Rabbi say, if this is the explanation throughout the generations, and the Rebbe was consistent on this explanation, this is a Yeridah Tzedek aliyah. Mitzrayim was a Yeridah. Why? The aliyah was Matan Torah. Now it's a Yeridah, an unprecedented Yeridah, because it's going to be unprecedented, the heights that we are going to reach, the Gula Amitis V'Ashlemu. And if this is the explanation throughout the generations, how much more meaningful is it in our generation? The last generation of Golus and the first generation of Geula. And the Rebbe tells us so many times that our generation will be that generation that will see the Gula Amitis V'Ashlemu. And He's asking us to do something now. It's going to be the 9 days. That in the 9 days where Simcha is limited, Mishenichnas of Mema'atin beSimcha, when Ov comes in, that you have to diminish in Simcha. Nevertheless, there's a Simcha that's allowed. The Simcha that comes from learning Torah. The Simcha that comes from someone who makes a Siyum. So the Rebbe asked, we should make in the 9 days. And later the Rebbe said more than the 9 days until the 15th of Ve'ad Bichlal, including the 15th, we should make as many Siyumim as we can. And the Rebbe pushed, we should make a Siyum, and the Siyum shall have a Sudas Mitzvah, and you should participate. It's so wonderful to see that one Jew is making a Siyum, but all of his friends are participating. In other words, it's not only he that's making the Siyum, it's us. Everyone together. And the Rebbe asks that each and every person should try to attend Siyumim, to make Siyumim and attend Siyumim in the 9 days, Gesundheit und Friedlichkeit, and to break the walls of Golus, brechen die Wand von Golus, break the walls of Golus. And especially as mentioned in our generation, that we are the last generation of Golus, the first generation of Geulah, and we are going to see Yot Hashem, the Geulah Amitis V'Ashlemo, with our very, very own eyes. Ubagolo didano v'simcha uvtuv livov uvteva nira ve'anigle ulamata me'asor atvochim uvechesed uverachamim v'teikef umiyad mamesh.